Harsh words, life-altering decisions, and much more are set to erupt on Beyond the Gates on February 2nd. Here's what's coming in Beyond the Gates on Monday, February 2nd, 2026. Leslie makes an offer to Ashley, while Isaiah and Cott clash in a fierce, explosive argument, and that's not even the half of it. Eva and Cott, who is the real victim, and who is manipulating emotion and perception. How will Ted react if he discovers Leslie deliberately set him up, and will he be willing to strike back? Eva steps into Uptown with a sensation that is both familiar and nauseating. She has always known this place runs on an invisible code: glances that linger too long, laughter that means nothing, and congratulations that are sweet on the surface and rotten underneath. But today, the way Cott stands beside Isaiah, not close enough to be blatant, not far enough to be innocent, feels like a hook dropped with surgical precision into the softest part of Eva. Cott doesn't need to do anything outrageous. She only has to smile. Only has to wear that ease, that comfort, as if she has the right to exist inside the intimate space Eva once believed belonged to her alone. And Isaiah lets it happen. Eva's anger doesn't explode in a loud, messy spectacle. It turns cold, sharp, and directional. She doesn't move toward them out of jealousy, like someone who's lost control. She moves because she's afraid. Afraid of being replaced. Afraid of being seen as weak. Afraid people will begin asking the question she refuses to ask out loud. Who is Eva to Isaiah now, his true love, or merely a temporary option? That fear, almost instantly, is twisted into power, the kind of power Eva has always used to keep herself from falling into the abyss. Eva gives Isaiah a kiss not to beg him to choose her, but to remind the world that the choice was decided long ago, even if the truth may no longer match the performance. She presses that kiss like a stamp onto a surface that is already cracking. Part of her knows it's a display, but another part justifies it with a cruel, relentless logic. If she doesn't mark what's hers, someone else will take it. If she doesn't strike first, she becomes the one who stands and watches. And Eva hates nothing more than watching other people write the next chapter of her life. Cott watches, and Eva senses the contradiction in Cott's reaction. Not embarrassment, but appraisal. Cott measures Eva like someone trembling inside a shell of pride. And that gaze, no pity, no fear, only calm, hits Eva like a slap. Because Cott looks at Eva as if she's trying to prove she owns something, rather than truly owning it. Eva pulls Isaiah away from Cott's line of sight, not to talk, but to rescue her image before it dissolves. Their conversation can no longer be normal. Every word becomes a needle. Eva wants reassurance, but she can't demand it because demanding it would mean admitting she needs it. Isaiah wants to soothe her, yet the way he chooses silence, softness, restraint only makes Eva feel like she's being patted down like a sulking child. She hates it. She hates gentleness when it's another name for avoidance. In Eva's mind, a venomous thought starts looping. If he can't stand with her in front of Cott, then where is he standing? If he doesn't react when she claims him, does he find it ridiculous? Or worse, does he find it necessary because he himself has failed to be clear? Isaiah's silence is no longer neutral. It becomes a wordless confession. Eva leaves faster than she arrived, but her footsteps aren't light. Each step is a stomp on a bruised ego. She feels ashamed because she just did the very thing she has always despised in other people. She acted on emotion to save face. And that shame mutates into something even fiercer because Eva cannot tolerate her own vulnerability. She needs somewhere to pour the poison boiling in her chest, and she thinks of Tomas. Tomas isn't a random choice. Tomas is the kind of man who makes Eva feel she never has to ask permission to be noticed. Beside him, everything feels allowed. Allowed to be angry, allowed to be cruel, allowed to spit bitter words without explaining herself. Tomas doesn't demand moral purity from her. He's like an emergency exit that's always open and that is both safety and danger. Eva seeks Tomas not only to vent, she seeks him to prove to herself that if Isaiah can't give her security, she still has other options. Part of her wants Isaiah to regret it. Another part wants to teach Cod a lesson. Don't mistake calmness for power. Real power is the ability to make other people hurt, and Eva has long used pain as a form of control. Back at Uptown, the surface-level piece fractures quickly. Isaiah turns back toward Cod with an irritation he refuses to name. Cod doesn't need to ask much. She only needs to press the right spot. That kiss, was it love, or was it fear? Cod never says it outright, but every look suggests the question. And Isaiah discovers he isn't angry because Cod insults Eva. He's angry because Cod is touching the very truth he's trying not to admit. Isaiah cares about Eva, but his care is starting to feel more like responsibility than instinct. He fears Eva will ignite, fears she do something that will hurt her, fears she become the person she never wanted to be. Yet the more he fears, the more trapped he feels. Because if he admits Eva is using tactics, he must admit their relationship is no longer simple love. If he reacts strongly to Cod, he will look like a man hiding something. If he reacts weakly, he pushes Eva deeper into abandonment. He stands between two shores, and his silence becomes a crime against them both. Cod, even if she is innocent in the sense that she hasn't done anything concrete, carries a dangerous motive. She enjoys seeing what other people don't want exposed. Cod has a curiosity that is sharp and cold, and in Uptown, curiosity is a kind of power. She sees Eva's fury, sees Isaiah's silence, and understands that with one gentle push, the whole structure could collapse. Cod doesn't necessarily want to steal Isaiah, but she wants to prove Eva isn't invincible. She wants to watch Eva lose control because that's the only moment Eva becomes human instead of a symbol. And as the tug-of-war tightens, Isaiah begins to realize something even more disturbing. He may like the way Cod forces him to think thoughts he has never dared to admit. The realization disgusts him. He hates Cod for awakening the darker parts of him. But that hatred only drags him deeper into the vortex. Eva sits with Tomas in a space private enough that no one can hear, but open enough that someone can see. It's an unconscious, self-destructive choice. She knows Uptown is full of messengers. She knows a single blurry photo is enough for the story to be embroidered into betrayal. And yet she chooses that table anyway, as if placing a bomb under her own seat and waiting for someone to light the fuse. Tomas looks at Eva and immediately understands she didn't come for peace. Eva arrives like a storm, carrying rage that has been polished into elegance and hurt hidden behind dry eyes. Tomas has always been drawn to women like Eva. The harder they try to control themselves, the more beautiful the moment of rupture becomes, and Tomas is no innocent. He knows how to manufacture the feeling of a false lie. He knows how to make Eva believe she is being seen when in truth, he is only looking for a way into the empty space between her and Isaiah. Eva lets Tomas touch her attention with gestures that are just intimate enough. She tells herself it's strategy. But deeper down, she's searching for painkillers. Her pain isn't only jealousy. It's the fear of being underestimated, of being viewed as a woman who must compete, as someone not enough to keep a man. Eva hates being judged, and today, Cod judged her. Isaiah allowed her to be judged. Eva wants to answer with a scene that forces them to judge her back. The door into an irreversible chain of events opens at the exact moment Isaiah walks past and sees them. He doesn't storm in like a man screaming, "Caught you." He stops, and what rises first is not rage, but ice. Betrayal so intense it becomes numbness. That numbness hardens into destruction-ready anger, restrained only by a thin membrane of control. Isaiah watches Eva with Tomas and feels as though his right to be heard has been stolen. Eva doesn't notice him right away, and that single beat is enough for Isaiah to imagine everything. Those imaginations are more brutal than the truth. In his head, Eva isn't merely venting she's choosing another path, she's proving he doesn't matter. And it hits an old wound, the fear that he is only a tool in other people's lives, never the center. He wants to step forward, flip the table, make all of Uptown hear him. But he doesn't, because if he does, he must admit Eva still controls him. He hates being controlled. He hates the sense that he isn't strong enough to make Eva choose gentleness. His pride screams, but his hurt is quieter and more poisonous. Isaiah turns away, not because he forgives, but because he starts planning. Eva's anger throws itself outward. His turns inward into a cold determination. If Eva wants to play strategy, then he will play too. If Eva wants power, he will show her that real power isn't the theatrical kiss, but the ability to make someone lose everything in silence. When Eva catches Isaiah's shadow slipping away in a window's reflection, her heart drops as if ripped from her chest. She realizes she pushed it too far. And what terrifies her isn't simply losing Isaiah, it's the possibility of being seen exactly the way Kot saw her, a woman trying to prove something. Eva's anger flips into panic, then is crushed and forced back into hatred. She refuses weakness. If Isaiah walks away, she will make it impossible for him not to return through guilt, jealousy, fear, whatever it takes. Elsewhere in the city, Leslie conducts the strings like a conductor who doesn't need music. She understands one truth perfectly. Other people's honor is the easiest thing to break. All it takes is a small object, an out-of-place trace, and everything spreads like wildfire. The underwear in Ted's apartment isn't a childish prank. It's a message. Leslie can rewrite his story whenever she wants. Ted is the kind of man who can survive professional pressure, boardroom wars, public scrutiny, but personal honor is the thing that makes him unravel. Leslie knows it. She doesn't want Ted destroyed immediately. She wants him living in fear long enough to be controlled. And Shanice is only a secondary target, a shadow designed to remind Ted he has something to lose. That's why Leslie's offer to Ashley can't revolve around the clinic alone. Leslie needs Ashley as a tool of legitimacy. Ashley looks right, hardworking, eager to rebuild her life, with a reputation clean enough that people will believe her. But Leslie doesn't need Ashley clean. Leslie needs a crack. And Leslie knows exactly how to reopen an old fracture by forcing Ashley into a situation where she must choose between honor and survival. If Ashley refuses, Leslie will turn Ashley's past into a weapon that leaves her unable to stand anywhere. If Ashley accepts, she steps into a world where Leslie controls all resources. No violence required, just the pressure of having no real choice. That is Leslie's greatest talent, turning other people's decisions into a game they think they chose when in truth, they were cornered. Ted begins to smell the trap as small, abnormal details keep piling up. He can't prove where the setup is coming from, but instinct tells him Leslie is behind it. Ted's anger doesn't become loud, it becomes a need to retaliate with the same weapon, information. If Leslie chains him with honor, he will find the weakness that can chain her back. And as Ted steps into that war, he steps closer to hurting innocent people around him because men like Ted often justify themselves by claiming the larger goal matters more than small moral lines. Derek stands on the edge of a life stripped of meaning. Being a firefighter was the thing that convinced him he mattered. When he's forced into retirement, he doesn't just lose a job, he loses an identity. He loses his place in the community. He loses the right to look in the mirror and see a good man. Derek's collapse doesn't show up as tears. It shows up as anger that reeks of failure. He takes it out on Ashley and Grayson not because they deserve it, but because they're close enough to absorb it. Derek knows he's wrong the moment his grip tightens, his breath heats, and the urge to fight surges as a way to prove he still has strength. Ashley stops the collision, but what is truly terrifying is Derek's realization. He wanted to hurt someone just to feel like he still exists. Jacob arrives like the blunt truth Derek both needs and despises. Derek doesn't need comfort. He needs someone to call out the cowardice in him, to force him to face the fact that he's using his pain as permission to destroy others. But if Derek listens to Jacob, he must answer a question more brutal than retirement itself. If he's no longer a firefighter, who is he? Grayson, calm on the surface, isn't sure he can forgive. He looks at Derek and sees a terrifying future because a man without purpose can become dangerous. Grayson doesn't want to retaliate with fists. He wants to retaliate by making Derek lose even more reputation, friends, respect. And that kind of revenge is the kind that kills without spilling blood. Meanwhile, Chelsea and Madison face a decision that looks like love but is shadowed by fear. Chelsea isn't sure she's ready for marriage, but she's more afraid of losing Madison than of commitment. She's avoided too much, retreated too often when things became real. Now she stands before a choice: step into a promise she isn't sure she can keep, or accept losing the person she loves because of her own hesitation. Madison carries a different exhaustion. She no longer believes in words, she believes only in action. And in her mind, Copenhagen is both a chance to breathe and a test for Chelsea. If Chelsea truly wants her, she will walk through her fear. But Madison also knows that sometimes people return not to forgive, but to end things properly. She's afraid she might become the kind of person who comes back only to say goodbye. These storylines may seem separate, but an invisible hand is pulling them toward the same point, the place where people are driven to the wall and begin choosing to harm in order to survive. Eva wants to prove power and nearly turns herself into a traitor. Isaiah wants to preserve dignity and prepares to retaliate with cold calculation. Kot wants to expose others and becomes a manipulator herself. Leslie wants control and is willing to shatter reputations to build her clinic like a throne. Ted wants to strike back and risks destroying both Shanice and himself. Derek loses purpose and teeters on the edge of violence. Chelsea wants to hold on to love and may lie to herself with a promise made too soon. Madison wants to be loved properly and may choose to leave to protect herself. And at the center of Uptown's storm, Eva senses perhaps for the first time in a long while that every strategy she uses could backfire. She has always won by staying one step ahead. But today she understands there is something she cannot control with a kiss or a spectacle: trust, once cracked. If Isaiah truly begins to see her as manipulative, she will lose what matters most, not him, but the ability to believe she can be loved without having to fight for it. That fear makes Eva even more dangerous. Because when Eva is afraid, she doesn't beg, she attacks. And when she attacks, she doesn't only aim at enemies, she aims at anyone who might see her weakness, including Isaiah himself. In silence, a brutal decision begins to form. Either Eva admits she went too far and accepts being hurt, or she pushes everything past the point of return so no one can ever place her in the role of victim again. And Isaiah, chilled by suspicion, faces his own ruthless choice. Either he trusts Eva and accepts that the kiss, the performance, even sitting with Tomas, were simply the reactions of a woman terrified of loss, or he treats it as proof that Eva has always chosen power over feeling. He can forgive or he can become the punisher. And the moment he turns his back without a word is already the first step of punishment. Everything is waiting to detonate: one leaked text, one misdirected photo, one misunderstood offer from Leslie, one burst of Derek's anger that crosses the line. Or one more delay in Chelsea and Madison's decision. Uptown survives on glamour. But beneath the gates, what's growing is fury, insecurity, and resentment, forces that, once they spill out, will leave no one clean enough to pass through without being stained. If you want, I can continue the aftermath branch in the direction you prefer. Isaiah secretly partners with Kot to test Eva, or Leslie gets hold of the Eva Tomas photo and turns it into leverage. Or Derek is pushed into one irreversible act. Just tell me which path you want.